Just picture it for a second. Two bitter enemies, groups that have been locked in conflict for maybe generations, are finally sitting down at the negotiating table. The stakes? They could not be higher. Every single word matters, every gesture gets analyzed. We all expect this tense but steady march towards peace. But what if, instead of moving forward, the whole process becomes this chaotic dance of approach and retreat?
It's honestly one of the most frustrating things to watch in diplomacy. One day you hear there's been a breakthrough, maybe even a historic handshake, and then the very next day the doors are slammed shut and all that animosity just comes rushing back. So why does progress so often feel like one step forward, two steps back? Is it just bad faith, or is there something deeper, something psychological going on behind the scenes? Okay, let's really get into this. We all hope for this smooth journey, right? A straight line going from conflict to peace. Easy. But the reality? Well, it is almost always a jagged, unpredictable path. You see these sudden advances followed by these really sharp retreats. But here's the thing. This isn't just a random pattern. It actually has a name, and understanding it is absolutely crucial. Yeah, it's called the Accordian Phenomenon. This term was first used by a psychoanalyst named Vamik Volkan, and he used it to describe this very specific pattern he kept seeing in unofficial diplomacy talks. It's a cycle of sudden closeness, followed by an equally sudden withdrawal. I mean, the name itself gives you the perfect mental image, doesn't it? So think about the first movement of an accordion. The two sides just squeeze together. In negotiations, this is that moment of unexpected connection. The enemy groups suddenly find some common ground, a share of humanity, a moment of real closeness that surprises everybody, including themselves. But then, just as quickly, the accordion pulls apart. This incredible closeness is followed by a withdrawal. The groups retreat from one another, that distance is reestablished, and all the old caution and suspicion comes rushing right back. And this back and forth, it can happen over and over again. So, let's just break this down. You've got the squeeze, that's the rapprochement, that moment of surprising closeness. And then you've got the pull, that's the withdrawal, the retreat back into what feels familiar and, let's face it, safer. It's this constant movement, this playing of the accordion, that really defines the whole phenomenon. Okay, but that leads us to the most important question. Why? Why on earth does this happen? Is it just a lack of commitment? Is it all just a show? Well, the answer is so much deeper, and it's rooted in the psychology of group identity itself. According to Vulcan, there are two powerful forces at play. First, there's the lingering aggression that still exists between the groups. That makes sense. But more importantly, this is an instinctual defense mechanism. See, getting too close to the enemy can actually feel like a threat to your own identity. I mean, put yourself in that room. You start to see the other person as human. Maybe you even share a laugh. Part of you feels good about it, but another part of your brain is screaming that you're being a little bit of a traitor. So you instinctively pull back to reaffirm who you are and whose side you're on. That's that protective instinct at work. So when we see this push and pull, our first instinct is probably to think, well, this isn't working. The talks are failing. It seems so counterproductive, doesn't it? Like a frustrating waste of time. But is that what's really happening here? And this, right here, is the game-changing insight from Vamik Volkan. He argues that this accordion playing, it isn't a bug, it's a feature. He says you literally cannot have a real, effective discussion of the core issues unless you allow this process to happen. You have to let the accordion play. So this is where we see the true purpose of this entire process. By allowing the back and forth, something incredible starts to happen. Those wild, pendulum-like swims in emotion, they start to calm down. As participants test the boundaries of closeness and distance again and again, their own group identities begin to feel less threatened, more secure. And it's only then, once that psychological safety has been established, that they can actually begin to tackle the real-world problems that divide them. So the big takeaway here is a total shift in perspective. What looks like a frustrating obstacle, what looks like a clear sign of failure, is actually a necessary and maybe even a healthy part of the journey toward resolving a deep-seated conflict. It's the very human process of building trust where absolutely none existed before. And perhaps that's the most profound lesson here. In the complex, messy world of human conflict, progress isn't always a straight line. Sometimes the only way to build a bridge to your enemy is to be willing to step back from it,
again and again, until you both feel safe enough to finally cross it.